Hello, I'm going to be talking about a rather unpleasant incident that happened in London a couple of days ago, or possibly even further back in time than that, depending on when you're watching this video. But first, I want to explain something about my terminology, okay? I want to tell you that, well, YouTube appear to be watching me very carefully indeed, and not in a nice way. I would really much rather say goodbye to the whole lot of them, but YouTube is where I have the most of my subscribers, so I do have to pay them some attention, at least for the time being. And if you pay attention to the subscriber numbers, you'll notice an odd anomaly. For instance, my subscriptions have been going up very quickly over the past couple of weeks. Very nice. And then suddenly they just stalled. And yesterday they started going down again. This is a pattern I noticed a few months ago. It would go up a while and then it would stall and it would drop. On top of that, my last video about the BBC clandestinely removing politically incorrect sections of their TV and radio shows, well, I discovered it had been demonetized. If anyone can explain to me why a video about the BBC censoring their own programmes might be unsuitable for advertising, well, perhaps you can speculate on that answer in the comments below. Whatever, I wasn't telling you all this for your sympathy. I was telling you because if you find some of my language slightly opaque, I wanted you to know that it's not because I'm being pompous. I really do have to be careful about what I say. So at least for the first couple of minutes, please excuse my circumlocutions. Right, also, I want to say I'm Grannyopteryx. I am on YouTube and also on Rumble, BitChute and Minds. And so if I disappear from YouTube, you'll know what happened and you can access me on the other channels. Please click like and make sure your subscription is up, because obviously they're being shaved again. And do try and help to support this channel if you can, because I'm not making any money off YouTube, that's for sure. Right, now, the incident to which I refer is an awful one, in which the ex-boyfriend of a young woman decided that if he couldn't have her, no one else could, not even herself. It was a very tragic, horrible case, and although I'm going to mention the outline of the situation to you, I want especially to draw your attention to the way the various news media approached the story. So, it starts with this woman. Now, I don't know quite how to pronounce her name, and many apologies to the family if I get it wrong. Her name was Yasmin Shkaifi. I'm going to pronounce it like that. I hope I've got it right. She was attacked by, as I said, her ex, a chap called Leon McCaskra, who already had a court order against him for harassing her. This photograph of Miss Shkaifi is from the Daily Telegraph. And here's another one. She looks like a nice, happy person, doesn't she? It's very often that everyone says nice things about a person recently deceased. You know, mortuis nihil nisi bonum. You know, don't speak anything but good of the dead. But in this case, it appears that she really was a nice, friendly, warm and valuable person. From the way the Telegraph depicts her in those two pictures that they chose, and this is significant, I'll get back to that later, she also appears to be well integrated into British society and making the most of the British way of life. So, McCaskra attacked her in the street wielding a sharp instrument, and when her cries brought a crowd of neighbours and passers-by to the scene, they tried to ameliorate the situation. They tried to interfere. However, the crazed assailant was not to be distracted, and he turned his onslaught on towards those who tried to stop him, preventing them from getting anywhere near the lady. Then one very quick-witted onlooker leapt into his car and drove it at McCaskey, pinning him to the ground so that Miss Scaife could be helped. Unfortunately, this help came too late and she died at the scene. Meanwhile, McCaskey was still under the car, and calling for help. He certainly didn't like being on the receiving end of retribution, did he? No one helped him, of course, because they were trying to help the real victim in all this. Well, I say the real victim, but it turns out there was another. Because as soon as the police arrived, they arrested the rescuer in the car. His name, as far as I know, the only name he gave was Abraham. They arrested the rescuer and charged him with murder. Now, I want to make a little diversion here. Some of you will be familiar with the name Harry Miller. He was the chap who retweeted a joke, or Instagrammed, not sure what. Anyway, it was a social media thing, and he found himself being persecuted by Hull police for what they termed a non-crime hate incident. They almost drove him to suicide. He took the police to court about their persecution, and through various legal means he has succeeded in changing some, unfortunately not all, police procedures in this sort of matter. But in a recent interview, at one point, I think it must have been after he'd won yet another court ruling in his favour, he spoke to the chief constable and asked him whether it would not have been better to have exercised some common sense at the time. And the answer of the chief constable went something like this: "We don't encourage our officers to exercise common sense, as that might lead to unpredictable outcomes. What we need is more guidance." Spoken like a good robot. And a terrible condemnation of the police, if that's how all of them think. Now, they are, at the moment, according to The Guardian, launching an urgent investigation. I don't know what for, but I'm assuming it's for the hero who tried to save the woman rather than why they couldn't protect her from an obsessed and murderous ex-boyfriend in the first place. It wasn't as if they didn't know about him. He had a restraining order against him. Anyway, that's the police out of the way. Now I want to point out to you the way this incident was reported. This is the Telegraph pictures of her. They show a picture of Miss Scaife, which humanises her and shows her to be a fun-loving, well-integrated member of our British society. As I said, that's important. Now, to the way The Guardian have put it. Look at this. Arrest made after woman stabbed to death and man killed by car in London. You might notice a certain sort of distancing in this story. The woman is neither named nor pictured. The man, her murderer, is killed by a car. Just a car. You had no idea there were so many killer cars around, did you? My supposition here is that The Guardian doesn't like what it sees as people taking the law into their own hands in defence or whatever. So they are being assiduously neutral as they can be in order not to step on their own woke toes. But if you think that's bad, the report of the BBC, well, that really does take the biscuit. Here it is on the BBC website. Maida Vale deaths. Man who killed Yasmin Scaife was wanted by police. And just look at that picture of Ms. Shkaifi, who in this image is a religious Muslim. Now, obviously she wasn't or hadn't been that religious before, not from those Telegraph pictures anyway. So why would the BBC, oh, and ITV too, by the way, have chosen that particular picture of her? Do you think it might have something to do with the BBC line of Muslim victimology? Just asking. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.